Did you know that we've got pumpkin growing under the walnut tree? And it is blooming actually. And there are some pumpkins forming. And I think it's a very nice idea. Today is going to be a bit of a lazy day for me. I'm planning to have a rest. I think it's an important thing to do if you're a gardener. Gardening is a very weary job, but I'm going to water the plants. It's not like I'm not going to enter into the garden and etc. But as I promised, I'm going to show you what I do with my plentiful harvest. And this video is going to be a compilation of different videos that I've filmed throughout the season, starting from July. And I will show different steps and I will show what I do with different types of vegetables. But you have to know that every year we plant a big variety of vegetables, but like this year, cabbage is the worst type of vegetable and we have lots of troubles with it, so we don't have it in plenty. But I will show what we do with those types that we always have in big amounts. I hope you all like this video. I hope you will find some insightful moments. I woke up to the sounds of storks, though they were far away in the village, but the sound of storks is pretty loud. The first thing that we do with the tomatoes, especially when we have lots of small tomatoes, is drying them. For drying, I usually use our wood stove and they dry a lot quicker. But recently, I also bought a very powerful dehydrator that helps us with it. So basically, it's like combining two methods, and they reduce in size tremendously. You should remember this because you need a lot of tomatoes for that in order to at least have something to taste. I have a dehydrator for this purpose, but obviously when I burn wood in my wood stove, I use it for drying everything. And then I add sunflower oil, garlic, and a blend of Italian herbs. And it is so delicious, especially with bread. Pickled tomatoes is a must for every season. We prepare lots of jars during the season depending on the amount of harvest we have. And believe it or not, we polish off all of them during winter. Especially me, I love pickled tomatoes more than pickled cucumbers. Every family has different recipes on how to pickle cucumbers and tomatoes, though the steps are going to be relatively the same. We don't add lots of extra different things. We try to make it simple. Another way I love pickled tomatoes is actually making them in their own juice. For this purpose, we also take our own tomatoes, but big ones that can have lots of juice in them, and we pour it into a jar with tomatoes. By the way, for this purpose, what I love is actually choosing cherry tomatoes. They are so delicious, especially in their own juice. It's amazing. And when we have some extra tomatoes left, we try to freeze them in order to prepare some sauces during winter. We pickle tomatoes and cucumbers in equal proportion, but recently we haven't got many cucumbers to pickle, so the only thing that I was doing this year is actually salting the cucumbers. We may eat salted cucumbers, but usually we salt them in order to use for salads, as well as soon enough we will start preparing different bases for soups that we freeze and store and then open a jar during the winter and cook the soup with the help of this base. For the most part, the base of the soup includes a mixture of different vegetables. If you add salted cucumbers, you need to prepare them beforehand. As you may have noticed, this season I have peppers in plenty. That's why I had to come up with the ideas of how to save it for winter. I'm not a big fan of peppers. Of course, I love adding fresh peppers to the salads and they taste pretty well. But when it comes to preserving and saving peppers for winter, I'm not sure what I can do with that. So the first idea that I came up with are stuffed peppers. The stuffing of peppers is pretty simple and classical here. So that is a combination of minced meat, carrots, onion, and rice. That's the most delicious thing ever. That's why I always polish everything out during the winter. They are pretty easy to freeze. They don't lose their form. They don't lose their taste. And it's really easy to cook them once you take them out of the freezer. Another helpful thing that I invested in this summer is the vacuum sealer. I'm going to explain to you why this thing is the most necessary one for me. First of all, I can't bear the smell of the freezer. Of course, there are many ways of how you can get rid of the smell, but nothing actually worked for me. Especially when you keep something frozen for a very long period of time, they tend to soak in the smell. When the food is vacuum sealed, there is no smell in the freezer at all. Also, I love the way it looks. It keeps the food really organized and you can save on the space, especially when you don't have much space to preserve and store food. Aubergines are the most delicious vegetables for me during winter. That's why I was so lucky to get a bumper crop of aubergines this year. My freezer is now packed with aubergines. There are some important steps that you need to follow if you want to freeze aubergines. First of all, salting them in order for them not to taste bitter. The bitterness can also depend on the variety you are growing or buying, because once I forgot to salt them and they tasted pretty well. There wasn't any bitterness in them, so I suppose the variety I'm growing is a perfect one. But to be on the safe side, I always salt them. Also, I never freeze fresh aubergines. I always do something with them. Quite often, I love baking them or I can fry them. I'm in my mum's apartment and I'm going to show what we are preparing for winter. She has a tiny kitchen but a very big freezer. Here we've got several sections with what we freeze for winter, and during winter we empty this whole freezer. So I'm going to show what we basically prepared during the month of July. So here we've got lots of berries. As an example, these are vacuumed and frozen blackcurrant without any sugar or anything. So basically you can do anything with it once you defreeze it. Before we used to add sugar, but right now we don't do that, and it's pretty nice. So here we've got lots of different vegetables, like this one, that's broccoli. Also we've got courgettes. These are the ready-to-go courgettes for courgette pancakes in a way that we fry. That's something that we did this year in order to check. Some people say that it's as if you pick up the fresh courgette and fry it. Then we have different like cuts of peppers and etc. in order to add to soups or stews or anything of this kind. Here we've got peppers, but you are aware of that because I showed peppers before. So these are courgettes too, but they are kind of like sliced in the form of a noodle. So, and I love adding them to noodles. So basically they mix up with noodles and it's a very good vegetable addition. There are lots of packages like this. So basically you can do anything with it, but they are cooked. We don't freeze fresh aubergines. We cook them beforehand and then we do this. So as an example, what you can do with these aubergines, these are the kind of rolls with cream cheese. That's what I love. So basically you can do the same thing, defreezing and doing these rolls. And this section is actually packed with aubergines, as you can see. There are many of them. And it's pretty convenient to store them like this. And one of the reasons I store them with the help of a vacuum seal It's because they don't soak in the smell of the fridge or of the freezer. Then we've got another kind of section, and here we have such kind of slices of aubergines that you can again add to any stew, or you can fry. In any case, like trying to be spontaneous about the way we freeze aubergines, and that's the way the peppers look like after freezing. So I vacuum sealed them, and right now they are almost completely frozen. Freezing is my favorite way of preserving food, despite the fact that we can fit in only half of our harvest. There are different ways of how we preserve food too, including pickling, but also here we have a pantry. It's a really small one, but we can store food there too, including cabbage, potatoes, some really nice varieties of tomatoes, pumpkin, courgettes, and etc. I only shared some of the ideas that I have for freezing food because since we bought the freezer, which was only last year, it became my main aim to fill it in to the fullest. Apart from that, we also dry a good portion of fruits. Apart from jams, of course, we have tons of jams. We dry fruits for different compotes that we can prepare during winter and take all the nice nutrients. Dry apples, there are so many of them, as well as pears. So everything is still ahead in preparation. So it was just a small glimpse into what I'm doing right now. See you tomorrow, guys. Take care.